This is World Studies. In case you forgot what class you were in, this is Chapter 17, War, Instability, and Depression. Just heads up for you 7th grade students, this is the first lesson of a new week. So please, if you are working ahead, this is as far as I'd want you to have gotten for the first week that we're doing this online program. You should have already taken or done all the Chapter 16 homeworks, quizzes. You should have taken the Chapter 16 test as well. Chapter 17 notes will be found in your next week's packet. So please make sure that you pick that up this Friday so that you'll be ready to go on for this lesson. But if it's already the next week, let's get going. On page 305 in your textbook, 305, it shows us the beginning of Unit 5, the 20th century and beyond. This is the last unit that your book covers. What I want you to do is please read those 3 intro paragraphs to yourself, pausing this video. Then once you have finished, please unpause. All right. Since before 1492, Europe had constantly been exploring and conquering the world, promoting the idea of imperialism. In the 20th century, we'll see that it's no longer the world that is being fought over by the Europeans, but Europe itself is up for grabs. Turn your books to page 307. As we start this chapter, please read that intro paragraph to yourself by pausing the video. Once you have finished, please unpause and continue. All right, Roman numeral 1, Prelude to World War I. Competition continued between nations. Extreme nationalism grew. War became an acceptable solution to a problem between nations. Old enemies will form alliances, and new nations will challenge the old nations. Letter A, rivalry. This is a map showing what Europe looked like before World War I. What European nations tended to fight one another? Think about all the history that we've discussed so far this year. What countries tended to fight each other? Well, I think of Britain and France often fought each other. Spain was usually a part of it. Germany and Italy have more recently gotten involved. Russia has definitely been involved in conflicts with anybody. However, these new nations, especially Germany, will challenge the traditional rivalries that we've discussed before. Number 1, economic rivalries. Germany sought to replace Britain as the most industrialized nation in the world. Germany wanted to become the most powerful country in Europe. It had fought wars in the late 1800s to prove it. Other countries lagged behind and struggled to modernize their industries. So Germany wanted to become the most industrialized nation in all of Europe. Number 2, political. Germany sought to weaken France, Britain sought to remain isolated, and Russia looked to finish off the Ottoman Empire. Remember that Germany had defeated France in 1870. Both nations continued to hate one another. Germany sought to form alliances with other European countries in order to weaken France. Britain hoped the English Channel was enough to keep itself isolated from the growing crisis. Russia hoped to expand further into the Balkans and kill the Ottoman Empire, nicknamed the Sick Man of Europe. Letter B, faith in science and technology. Men began to believe that they could solve any problem and cure all of society's ills. They believed that science and technology was the answer. Ultimately, this confidence led nations to stumble into a war that could not be resolved quickly. Science and technology, in turn, will be used quite efficiently, for that matter, to kill millions in war. Number 1, science. New studies concerning the atom, identifying diseases, and other scientific discoveries did take place. For the first time, the atom was studied in great detail under the microscope. Physicians discovered the causes of certain diseases. These discoveries encouraged men to believe that they could ultimately unlock the secrets of the universe. Number 2, technology. Improvements in processing steel and the production of electricity and chemicals led to a tremendous growth of technology during this period. Europeans used these advances to build infrastructures, modernize their militaries, and multiply wealth as new products became available. Fact of the matter is, and this is worth noting, Germany will lead Europe in producing certain chemicals. Chemical production led to the mass production of paper, soaps, fertilizer, and more. Letter C. Causes of war. There were many reasons as to why World War I began. Number 1, militarism. Nations built huge militaries to symbolize power, and they glorified war. These armies and navies became an expression of national glory and were much larger than a need for defense. People also glorified war without regard for its justification. All they saw was the glory in it. They didn't see the bloodshed and death and gore that would go with it. Number 2, imperialism. We've discussed this word before. Imperialism is the dominance and power asserted by one nation over less powerful nations. Each wanted more land, a rivalry that led to tension and suspicion among European powers. Germany and Italy especially sought to gain access to foreign lands in order to compete with Britain and France. Number 3, a third cause for World War I was the creation of rival alliances. Germany signed an alliance with Austria-Hungary and Italy. At this time in history, Austria-Hungary was one united kingdom, though they have two names, one kingdom. And then, of course, an alliance with Italy as well. This alliance was intended to protect Germany in case France ever invaded. Another alliance that was attempted was called the Reinsurance Treaty. It was Germany's attempt to ally with Russia. Eventually it failed. It was to reinsure Germany against only having to deal with France on one side of Germany rather than having to worry about France and Russia. It eventually failed. Bismarck, remember Otto von Bismarck, recognized the need to have Russia's support if war with France ever occurred. However, when Bismarck lost power, the Reinsurance Treaty fell apart. The man responsible for Bismarck's loss of power was the ruler of Germany itself, Wilhelm II of Germany. It was Wilhelm who dismissed Bismarck and let the Reinsurance Treaty fall apart. He apparently saw no need in alliances with Russia, thought he could get by on his own. When Wilhelm sought to strengthen the German navy, Britain also felt threatened and decided to act. An alliance was formed called the Entente Cordiale between Britain and France. Entente Cordiale, by the way, means friendly understanding. Britain and France, who historically had always been enemies, now will have a friendly understanding that if Germany ever started to cause trouble, they would work together. Eventually, Britain, France, and Russia formed the Triple Entente. These entangling alliances will bring all of the major powers into a deadly web that would result in war. So number 1, militarism is a cause of war. Imperialism. Number 3, rival alliances. And the fourth cause for World War I was the Balkans. You guys remember, of course, where the Balkans is located. It's the southeast part of Europe. The Balkans became known as the powder keg of Europe. What that means is it describes that any spark, starting there, would ignite into war. The Balkans had had a history of conflict. Foreign powers such as Austria-Hungary, Russia, and the Ottoman Empire claimed regions of the Balkans. The Balkan states sought independence and fought among themselves, and these underlying problems will lit the spark. On June 28th, 1914, on a very testable date, Austrian Archduke Francis Ferdinand was assassinated by a Serbian rebel. Francis Ferdinand was the heir to the Austrian throne, so obviously Austria was pretty upset. Austria made demands that Serbia could not meet. Germany supported Austria, Russia supported Serbia, and France supported Russia. In a short period of time, as you can imagine, all of the major powers of Europe will be at war. The Central Powers consisted of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. You can see the map shown right there. The countries that are in red are the countries that will join the Central Powers. Also included was the country of Bulgaria, though he won't be tested material. And then on the Allied side, to start the war, you include Russia, Serbia, and France. Other countries will join the Allies, but we'll talk about that later. The fact of the matter is, World War I had just begun. On page 309 in your books, please, there is a small purple box entitled Justified War. Please read that to yourself, and then unpause the video when you have finished. Welcome back. This is all of the notes that we are going to be covering for today. For homework, I want you to work on page 139 and 140 in your activities book. It's entitled Alvin York and His Struggle with War. I want you to read the information about Alvin York. He was a well-known American soldier in World War I, and he's going to deal with the struggles of deciding whether or not he should join the war, or if he should, on religious grounds, oppose joining. So please read that box, or read that assignment, answer the 5 questions located on the back. Hope you all have a good rest of the day. Be good, do good. Bye.